VikesNow, I am Dustin Baker. We are back. Vikings football is heating up. We have the preseason on Saturday. Your golden boy, JJ McCarthy, will play. I'm going to guess it's 2 or 3 drives, and then allegedly the team will put him on ice for the rest of the preseason, which is fine by me. We don't need any meniscus tears, additional ones. But I want to get back on the swing of things on Vikes now. And what I want to do is, for this one, go under the players who, in my perception, I think you'll agree, have underwhelmed at training camp. Some of them, surprisingly, and that need impactful preseason performances in 3 games to make the roster or to establish themselves a little bit more than they are right now. Like, let's just say guys stock who is low but need big preseasons to reestablish themselves. That's what's on the agenda. I'm going to count them down. You know how I like to do, which means when we get to the end of the show, number 1 will be the guy who's most under the gun. But first, I'm going to be doing this for quite some time, so hopefully it doesn't get on your nerves. I wrote my first book, and I got it published independently on Amazon. And it's going to shock you. I'm not a big salesman or marketer. I am a writer. You know, there are players who play football. There are people who fly to the moon. There are surgeons who do surgery. I write, and now I write books. So I'm going to promote my book on this show. I just so happen to have a copy of it right here. It's called The Motor Route, and it is available on Amazon. If you like ebooks, Kindle, it's $3.99, or if you have Amazon Unlimited, it's free, however that works. In the paperback, if you like the feel of the book in the hands like this guy does, it's $14.99. And the book is set in South Dakota. It's kind of a mystery, a rural thriller, suspense, psychological fiction. You could put in that genre too. And it's about a guy who's delivering newspapers out by Wall Lake in Hartford, South Dakota. And things get kind of weird for the guy. I have a plan. It's fully in motion where I'm going to write 2 fiction books for the rest of my life. And by the time I get to be an old man, boom, I'll have 40 to 50 books for people to remember me by. And this is the first one. It's called The Motor Route. So I need you to go buy it on Amazon or read it through Kindle Unlimited, whatever your drug of choice is for reading. So do that for me. Go buy the book. But let's talk about the Vikings. All right. So players under the gun who need big preseason performances to, keep themselves relevant. The first one, so at the bottom of my list, which means not quite as important as when we get to number 1, and this guy is going to be tied with number 4, but number 5 is Ty Chandler, the RB3 for the Vikings. Now, I will admit, I do like Ty Chandler. I think he is a really speedy running back. His speed is kind of underrated in our Vikings community. But the problem is the guy is not the type of pass blocker that the Vikings usually employ. That's why they trade for Cam Akers every year. That's why they went and got Jordan Mason for a late round draft pick. Chandler doesn't quite have that juice as a pass blocker. So anytime he gets close to getting, an RB1, RB2 workload, the Vikings are like, nah, son, we're going to go trade for Cam Akers. This time they did Jordan Mason. As soon as Ty Chandler got close to that RB2 job, so the reason that I have Ty Chandler needing a big preseason is suddenly Xavier Scott, a little-known dude on the practice squad, has played well at training camp. If that guy was ever going to bust out, the time would be now. And a little-known fact about Ty Chandler, if you don't follow this stuff as obsessively as this guy does, is this is his final year of his contract. And he's already 26 years old. He was an old rookie when Kwesi drafted him in 2022 from that now infamous class. There is a world where Ty Chandler is cut in like 3 weeks, and the Vikings either A, roll with Xavier Scott, or B, scour the post cut down market for a guy like Jaleel McLaughlin who could be released. The Broncos are probably going to have to release 2 running backs that you've heard of before. And basically, every time there is the roster cut down deadline from 90 players to 53, about 1,200 players flood the open market. 14 from each team go to the practice squad, but still, there is a pick of the litter when it comes to newfound free agents. And Vikings could do this at quarterback, too, a little teaser for later. But at running back, I think Ty Chandler's days could be numbered. And if you like Jaleel McLaughlin or Damian Pierce, somebody like that is an RB2 or RB3 on their current team that could lose his spot to one of the rookies in this draft class. There was, 25 rookies drafted 3 or 4 months ago? Ty Chandler, because his contract is up, I don't think they'll renew it. And he just never really makes a huge impact outside of 2 games in 2023. Ty Chandler could be on the hot seat and needs a big preseason to reestablish himself. Number 4 is in the same kind of vein, same draft class, Brian Asamoah. The Vikings also go out of their way not to play Asamoah on defense. He started a fight the other day at practice. My son and I were there. Really wasn't like, him as an evil doer. It was just fisticuffs at training camp. But Minnesota spent a third round pick on Asamoah in 2022, that class. And then what? As a rookie, he had like a couple splash plays against the Giants in the regular season. We're like, yeah, Asamoah. He kind of is built like a safety, but he's going to be good, baby. But then they never played him again on defense. Like, he's only a special teamer, and he's not going to. If he makes this roster, it's not going to be as a linebacker. It's going to be as just a special teams guy because Blake Cashman, Ivan Pace Jr., Eric Wilson's back, and Kobe King. Those guys, to me, have 4 roster off-ball linebacker spots all sewn up. So to me, Brian Asamoah is on a steady march to a roster cut in 3 weeks. If I'm wrong, so be it. Maybe he is the savant on special teams that I don't really know about too well. But it just feels like he needs to do something fantabulous in the preseason to stay attached to the Vikings roster. And to me, Ty Chandler, Brian Asamoah, 2 more failed prospects from the 2022 draft class, all things considered. I think they will probably be cut before too long if I had to guess. I haven't looked at other people's roster predictions. I should and figure out if those guys are going to make the cut. I say probably not. Asamoah's got to do something, probably on the special teams circuit, to make this roster. That's number 4. Number 3, Ty Felton. All right, there was a lot of debate after the Ty Felton pick, let alone in the Vikings community, about whether or not this guy was good or if he was not good. And so far, the folks that said he wasn't good probably are patting themselves on the back. Ty Felton really hasn't done anything at training camp, and training camp is supposed to be a spot where anybody can take off and emerge because you're hardly playing. It's practice. And Vikings fans are notorious for falling in love with any wide receiver who is worth his salt. And Ty Felton hasn't given them any fodder, any footage to get excited. And it's really weird because he's fast, he's young, he's a rookie, he's got this rookie quarterback, second-year quarterback throwing to him. Jordan Addison's probably going to be suspended for 3 games. We're screaming for the emergence of an emergency WR2 for the first 3 weeks. And Ty Felton, to me, seems missing in action. Now, I am you've heard me on this show if you've watched it for the past 3 years. I am the first guy to preach patience with rookies. So I'm going to take a little dose of my own medicine here and say, yeah, Ty Felton probably needs time. But to me, he just hasn't done a damn thing at training camp. Like, I've scoured Twitter, I've scoured the internet. I was there on Saturday. And the only thing I can find is just catches. Like, oh, yeah, he caught a pass over the middle, which I hope he can do as a third round wide receiver. But this roster, especially in September, is ripe and begging for a wide receiver to step up, at least for a month. Because right now, Justin Jefferson has a tweaked hamstring. TJ Hawkinson tweaked his groin on Saturday. Jordan Addison's going to be suspended. You find yourself wondering, well, who's going to catch the damn football? Now, Jefferson will be back, Hawkinson will be fine. But that still allows for somebody like Felton to step up and be the guy at WR2, WR3 for 3 weeks while JJ McCarthy is cutting his teeth, learning the NFL. And so far, I would not nominate Felton as a reliable candidate for that job to start the regular season. I would say Rondale Moore now feels like a lock to make the roster out of necessity. And then you got, let's see, Tim Jones, who could make it as a special teams guy. Silas Bolden, we think, could be the return man. Maybe we could get frisky using him on offense. But after that, if Ty Felton is not ready to make an impact in week 1, you got to start thinking about free agents like Amari Cooper or Nelson Aguilar, like those type of guys, because to me, Ty Felton has not quite stuck. Ty Felton, we are requesting a breakout from him in the preseason, and maybe it will happen, but so far at training camp, to me, it has not. Number 2 on players under the gun in the preseason, Mekhi Blackmon. Now, Mekhi Blackman is not going to get cut. I talked about Chandler and Asamoah predicting their roster. No. Mekhi Blackman, 26 years old, in his prime, not going to get cut. He's bouncing back from a torn ACL. And if you watch this show, March, April, a little bit of May, or you've read anything from Vikings writers, there was kind of a mystery since the draft. Well, what's this cornerback room going to look like? We know Byron Murphy Jr. is the CB1, even if he'll play in the slot most of the time. Probably Isaiah Rodgers, because he was their very first free agent signing of the offseason. But then there was this debate in mystery about Jeff Okudah, Mekhi Blackman, Dwight McGlothern, who's been a baller at training camp. Like, who's going to emerge as the third cornerback? Because Lord knows those guys play a lot in a pass-happy NFL. And you're like, well, right now, like it's a foregone conclusion based on the first teamers at training camp that it's Byron Murphy, Isaiah Rodgers, and Jeff Okudah, which is fine. But where's Mekhi Blackman? Like, he's supposed to have his welcome back party from the torn ACL. He played great for a rookie in 2023. He had like a 72 something PFF, I believe. But right now, it just seems like it's a no-brainer. The Mekhi Blackman is going to be a CB4 for these Vikings. That could easily change as soon as an injury hits. Mike Zimmer always said, these cornerbacks, they get hurt. That's going to happen. Somebody's going to get tweaked, and then Mekhi Blackman will have his chance. But Blackman needs to do more to turn this conversation on its head so that Jeff Okudah, who is, a bust as recently as 2 years ago, Mekhi Blackman should be battling Jeff Okudah for the CB3 job, not just have it be established that Jeff Okudah has been reclaimed and saved with these Vikings. I still have to see it from Okudah in the preseason to believe it because, what is it, 2020 he was drafted? 5 seasons is a long time for a guy to finally figure it out if he's not named Rich Gannon 25 years ago. So Mekhi Blackman, to me, is under the gun because this was a roster, a depth chart. His spot, cornerback, was screaming for somebody to emerge because they didn't go out and sign DJ Reed. They didn't draft Will Johnson or Siobhan Revell or any of those dudes. And we are 2 weeks through training camp, and it's just like, oh yeah, Mekhi Blackman, CB4, right? No, he should be in the mix for CB2 with these dudes. It just hasn't happened so far. So keep an eye on Mekhi Blackman in the preseason. I'm guessing he's going to play a bunch because he doesn't run with the first teamers, and usually the preseason is a playground for second, third, and fourth teamers. Number one guy under the gun in the preseason, hot seat, if you will, is Sam Howell. Now, he looked decent on Saturday when I was there. You've seen all these horror stories and interceptions from training camp on Twitter and whatnot. But when I was there, Howell looked pretty decent Saturday. So maybe he's taking time to learn the complexity of Kevin O'Connell's scheme and system. But Sam Howell, like daily, it was like, hey, what time is he going to throw a pick? Like, you could set your clock to it. And this dude threw for almost 4,000 yards and I think 25 touchdowns 2 years ago as the Washington Commanders QB1. It's just that he took way too many sacks. So the working theory during the draft when the Vikings traded for him was, oh, he'll pair with Kevin O'Connell, the great quarterback whisperer, get his poop in his group, figure his shit out, and he'll be great as the Vikings QB2. Now, he might be. Maybe the preseason will fix everything. But Howell's performance has been so underwhelming that sites like mine at Vikings territory and others have wondered, oh, hey, can they go trade for Zach Wilson? Jameis Winston, can he get got for a late round pick? If you're having to talk about the backup quarterback trades or free agents like Teddy Bridgewater or Carson Wentz, then the guy who has the job right now isn't doing that good of a job. And on top of Howell being there, you have Max Brosmer, who's played well, and Brett Rippon, who I think the Vikings secretly love. So right now, Howell, to me, has been whisked into a QB2 debate, a camp battle with Brett Rippon. And if that isn't good enough for anybody, then you might have to explore a trade. One thing about this brand of Vikings leadership with Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, they are never afraid to say, you know what, we screwed that up. We're going to go fix this. I will give you an example. They kept Kellen Mond and Sean Mannion, I believe, on the roster in the summer of 2022. And then after the preseason, they said, we don't want to see these sons of bitches anymore. We are trading for Nick Mullins. And Nick Mullins See, who did he come from the Raiders that year for a conditional seventh? He was the Vikings' backup quarterback for 3 years. So they were unafraid to pull the trigger on a solution late in the summer. Or, for example, 2023, Kirk Cousins tears his Achilles against the Packers right as the Vikings season had turned around in a good way. And they faced the prospect of starting Jaron Hall, waiting for the aforementioned Mullins to get back, or trading for the Pastronaut, Josh Dobbs, who played like a total baller for 2.5 weeks or whatever it was. So Kwesi Mensa is never afraid to go find a new backup quarterback, trade for one, or sign one like Carson Wentz. But they shouldn't have to do that. Sam Howell has plenty of experience as a QB1, a full season with the Commanders. He's got the physical tools to be a backup quarterback. We're not asking him to be the savior that is J.J. McCarthy. We just need somebody who, in a pinch, could fill in and, go 3-2 if he had to play 5 games. Howell still might be that guy, but through training camp, 2 weeks, it's been kind of crummy. All right, so I'll go recap very quickly from bottom to top. 5 Vikings players that need to play their ass off in the preseason. Ty Chandler to save his job. Brian Asamoah to save his job. Ty Felton to take advantage of an opportunity of a potentially Jordan Addison-less roster for 3 games. Mekhi Blackman, who just evidently is the CB4. And then Sam Howell, who should have been a no-brainer to win a QB2 competition against Max Brosmer, an undrafted guy, and Brett Rippon, who, if you're not a Vikings fan, you've never heard of him. He still hasn't won the job. He looks like a moron at times. So Sam Howell is going to play a lot in the preseason, especially if the Vikings put McCarthy on ice for the second and the third preseason game. What is that, against the Patriots and the Titans? Howell's going to be playing a lot and made the best man win between Howell, Brosmer, and Rippon getting all those preseason snaps. All right, once again, peddling my book, hawking my book, The Motor Out by me. It's about 315 pages. It's my maiden voyage book. The second book, a different topic. This isn't a series. Is about halfway done. That should be out in probably December. Go get it on Amazon, and I will be back soon to talk more Vikings. We are 5 days away from the preseason, folks. Skol, baby.